here is the story that I've been teasing you about. We can now weirdly finally report on now it's gone 10:30. Well, I never understand why they're doing this, but anyway, Keir Starmer says that the UK needs to, quote, be alive to the rise of a German-style far-right political party in the UK. So it's not just the far-right, people anymore. He is now openly saying that we could have a far-right political party if we're not careful. The Prime Minister also said he wanted to work with other progressive parties on mainland Europe to take the fight to far-right parties. Starmer added, I think that delivery and honesty is the best way of dealing with the snake oil of populism and nationalism, which is why I set out the tough measures I did yesterday in my speech. It is something that occupies my time. I do think, in the end, delivery is the way forward. It's about a disaffection in politics. The easy answer is appealing if people don't think there's a better answer. And so progressives have to provide the better answer. Right, OK, so that is the line that Starmer is now openly talking about, the risk of Britain developing a far-right political party. Adam, do you think that the far-right is becoming a red herring?
It's an absolute disgrace, this rhetoric that he's saying. Look, this is a man that's basically effectively labelling any sort of working class or lower social class of people that dares to speak out about illegal immigration or immigration or the things that affect us every day as far right. These are so far detached from the real people of this country. It astounds me. He's got advisors and people, they're the metropolitan elite. They don't know what is happening in our towns and cities.
Yeah, it's
not going to get better.
It's even worse than that, Adam, that if I heard that correctly, he said a German-style far-right party.
That's
well,
No. He wasn't talking about Nazis.
Well, what is he talking? A German-style far-right party? What does that mean?
Party. The thing is, he didn't deliberately make this statement as something of intent. He was asked a question by journalists
and answered with intent.
And he answered that. And I forget what the party's called. Some kind of AKF or something.
The AFD, you mean?
Okay. So he was saying that that's what we don't need in this country. Is an equivalent of the AKF.
But the way that there's one area where I have a modicum of sympathy with it. If mainstream political parties do deliver, you don't tend to get rises in new insurgent parties. Unfortunately, mainstream political parties, not just here but everywhere, have failed to deliver. So you get the AFD in Germany. I'd be interested in what Keir Starmer says when he visits Italy. Meloni in Italy is from a populist right-wing party. Yeah. It might only be a few months before he's dealing with President Trump, who you might say is a populist right-winger.
Well, sure he's a populist right-winger.
This is happening because mainstream politics has...
Trump got in.
Well, I'm just saying it's happening because mainstream politics has failed.
Yes, but do you think that... Are you saying that Trump coming in would be a positive...
I think it's a positive thing. We certainly have less conflicts in the world.
I'm sitting on the sofa with two lunatics.
Well, hang on. Half of America is likely to vote for him. He's either going to just win or just lose.
Nina, that's offensive, Nina. It's three lunatics.
Nina, you say...
Leaving you out, it's just not on.
Unbelievable.
You say you like facts.
Unbelievable.
Under Donald Trump, the world was a more peaceful place.
Can I just politely steer us... like herding cats? Like herding cats. Can I steer us back to Keir Starmer's latest comments? And just say, he's been going to Germany where last week, I think it was, there was that Syrian asylum seeker or refugee, whichever you care to call them, who stabbed 3 people to death at a festival of diversity. ISIS claimed responsibility for that. He's off to France now. It's every other week there's a terrorist attack in France. They tried to blow up a synagogue in Montpellier over the weekend. Just, same old as far as that's concerned. And Starmer's response to this now is apparently to say, I'll tell you what, we can't possibly have some kind of far-right party. The solution lies in working with progressives. Well, I'm sorry, but isn't that the opposite of what a lot of people are thinking? I'll come to you, Nina. I will come to you.
On Twitter and on social media, you have a lot of these lefties that describe the Reform Party as far-right. That is absurd. Yeah. To label someone like Nigel Farage far-right or someone like me as far-right is such stupidity. Yeah. These people do not realise what the actual far-right is, and we're not going to get that in this country. Normal, everyday people, like myself, wouldn't allow the far-right to rise up. We abhor racism, we abhor all that sort of thing. It's not going to happen. This is a PR exercise to try and demonise normal, hard work.
And there is no, mate, there is no...
I'm centre-right, and I can be right-wing on certain things.
Yeah, and there's no... I mean, encouragingly in Britain, there is no meaningful fascist tradition. We had Oswald Mosley's black shirts, but they got virtually nowhere, very limited support. We haven't, unlike mainland Europe, had much of a fascist tradition here. Now, I'm not saying that we should take our eye off the ball, but Adam is right. The far right is a minuscule proportion of the British electorate. It's tiny. The Reform Party is not part of it, nor are the 14 or 15% who voted for the Reform Party. They are a mainstream right-of-centre party. I think part of the problem for these so-called progressives is if you're a long way to the left, then everything looks like it's on the far right. And I think, whatever Nina might think about Donald Trump or Maloney or anything else, we've got to get back to a scenario in which sincere people can honestly disagree without shouting at each other about how they're lunatics. And if you start shouting to people about how they're lunatics, people react quite badly to
Can I just ask you, because it ties in with all of this, right? So if you've got someone like Keir Starmer who is readily lobbing out, words about far right, and some people would argue fear-mongering about this notion of there being an explosion of far-right actual political party.
Well, we saw that a month ago.
That wasn't far right.
You mean it was left-wing?
No,
it wasn't
you're right. So there were some people. There was one bloke who was walking around with a swastika
right.
tattoo on his back, right? There were people who wanted to, whatever it was, firebomb a mosque, whatever it was. Yeah, 100%, I agree with you. There were people there who were the far right, but there were not millions of people who were members of the far right. And I just wonder if people feel silenced, Nina, or people feel unfairly demonised, right? So, like, i.e. maybe called lunatics or far right or Nazis when they're not. Does that not actually then just breed hate?
Yeah.
No, I don't agree. I think the thing is that if we had a fairer society where everybody felt they had a voice, they were being treated fairly, we didn't have the economic crisis that we do have, with a national health service that worked, with trains that ran, that were affordable, that schools weren't collapsing because of concrete failures. We had enough teachers because teachers, a year or so ago, 43,000 teachers left British schools because.
But Nina, the problem is more and more people have reached the conclusion, rightly or wrongly, but nevertheless have reached the conclusion that they do not trust the mainstream political parties and the present political structures to fix those problems. They notice their tax bill is the highest it's ever been in peacetime. Government spending is the highest it's ever been. Regulation is the highest it's ever been. The number of people working for the state is the highest it's ever been. And these problems persist. So more and more people, I think, are just sceptical that one more heave, one more tax rise, one more cheque written by the taxpayer will solve any of these problems.
You've had 14 years where the Tory government has spent its time raping this country financially instead of being for the people, they are been for themselves and their mates.
And Labour are going to rape it even more.
So your solution is that...
By the way, I don't vote Labour. I didn't vote for Keir Starmer.
But your view is that taxes and spending need to be even higher, you think?
Well, yeah.
It needs to, I'm not saying taxes need to be higher. I'm not saying spending needs to be higher. It needs to be reformed.
You want to see something fairer, I think.
I want something fairer. And, for instance, you talk about the NHS.
A lot of people think the system isn't fair.
Everything needs to be reformed.
Fine. OK, good stuff. All right, now, look, we'll be back in just a couple of minutes and we'll probably be picking back up on this. If you have just joined us, that statement at 10:30 p.m. Was that Keir Starmer has warned against the rise of a far-right political party in Britain, whether or not... The question I was asking is whether or not you think that's fear-mongering, basically. But anyway, look...